Hello everyone and welcome to Friday Night Countdown here from Carta Magica in Montreal. It's been a fabulous Pro Tour Gatecrash weekend.
Yeah, Gatecrash was introduced into the standard format. We got to see players drafting Gatecrash for the first time, and we also got to see a lot of players accomplishing some historic firsts this weekend.
The finals saw Tom Martell with his black, white, red Aristocrats deck up against Joel Larsson of Sweden. He was playing blue, white, red Reckoner control. And in the end, it was the American Martell who pulled out the victory by 3-1 in 4 tense, hard-fought games. It was very well deserved. No doubt, though, that Boros Reckoner from Gatecrash was the real breakout card of the weekend. Here's why.
Gatecrash's Boros Reckoner was front and center this weekend in Standard. We saw it in both the decks in the finals, and we saw it all across the Standard metagame. The card opens up a ton of new possibilities for how to play the game. We saw people using Harvest Pyre as a combo kill, we saw Blasphemous Act, and we saw the possibility of infinite life with Boros Charm and Azorius Charm on your Boros Reckoner.
It wasn't just Boros Reckoner though. Gatecrash has brought us a ton of new possibilities for Standard. Let's take a closer look at some of the decks you could take to your next Friday Night Magic.
Conley Woods, to the surprise of no one, brought an unexpected deck to the Standard rounds. His mono-black control deck was not on the radar of most people coming into this event. However, Gatecrash's Cryptghast, powering out Gristlebrand as early as turn 5, tells you everything you need to know about playing with this deck.
Melissa DeTora played a banned control deck. Cards like Centaur Healer, Thragtusk, and sideboard Rock's Faithmender allowed her to stay alive into the late game. Thanks to the mana from 6 different shocklands, she splashed for Kessig Wolfrun, a near unbeatable finisher, even with cards like Augur of Bolas.
Ben Stark did not have many ways to win in his deck, and that's just the way he likes it. A consummate control player when sleeving up 60-card decks, he was content to reset with Supreme Verdict, restock with Sphinx's Revelation, rebuy with Restoration Angel, and ultimately reduce his opponent's library to 0 with his beloved Nephalia Drownyard.
Renowned deck builder Jerry Thompson put a different spin on control, built around Boros Reckoner. At first glance, this seemed like a normal blue-white control deck, with the regular cast of Snapcaster Mage, Augur of Bolas, and Restoration Angel. But with a Boros Reckoner, a Harvest Pyre, and a graveyard full of cards, Thompson could produce a combo kill at a moment's notice.
Showcasing the versatility of Boros Reckoner, Shahar Shenhar played a blisteringly fast red-green aggro deck. Stromkirk Noble, Rakdos Cackler, Lightning Mauler, Flinthoof Boar, those can all be powered out on turn 2 with a turn 2 Burning Tree Emissary. With opponents already under immense pressure, the Reckoner made combat math harder, and by harder we mean bloodbath waiting to happen. There was even more to reckon with Domri Raid coming out of the sideboard.
So there's a great look at what the new Standard metagame is going to look like post Pro Tour Gatecrash. Of course, the Pro Tour also featured 6 rounds of Gatecrash Booster Draft.
Yeah, anyone who knows me knows that the way I like to play my Friday Night Magic is at the Booster Draft table. And anyone who doesn't even really know me knows that I like to draft Simic.
I, of course, like to draft Boros.
Yeah, and let's take a look at what drafting each of the Gatecrash guilds means when you're sitting down at the Booster Draft table.
For Boros, plan A is simple. Get those creatures onto the battlefield and attack. And again, and again.
Yeah, you have a lot of really aggressive creatures, cheap creatures like Wojak Halberdiers that come out really fast, and then you have a lot of great spells that help you push through damage, even like a finisher like Massive Raid.
Only problem for Boros is, those creatures tend to be smaller than average. They can get wrecked by early defense.
When you're drafting Dimir, you really want a base of creatures that you can encode with your Cypher spells, and Dimir Kirun is one of those really nice evasive creatures.
You may not beat your opponent with milling, but you can certainly power up your own cards like White of District 6.
Yeah, and early aggressive decks can really get in there before the Dimir deck settles down, so you have to pay attention to where your curve is.
For Gruul, you want to start attacking early and often with a really aggressive curve, backed up by the brand new mechanic, Blood Rush.
Yeah, Yeah, you have a plan B there where you can use mana acceleration like a card like Verdenhaven or the Greenside Watcher and some Guild Gates to power out, bigger, fatter creatures like Ruination Worm.
The downside to Blood Rush, well, everyone knows it's coming. You do, and so do your opponents. So a well-timed removal spell, like a Smite for example, well that can be bad news for you. The Orzhov Guild love to use aggressive creatures to bring opponents' life totals low, because once you've done that, new mechanic Extort is almost certain to let you close out the game.
You really want to play this guild defensively with cards like Basilica Guard letting you hide behind it and using the Extort mechanic while you're playing your removal spells and getting to your late game bombs.
The thing about Extort is that it is good at extending the game on defense, but if you're behind, it's kinda tough to turn the tide all by itself.
When I'm drafting Simic, I like nothing more than playing a first turn Cloudfin Raptor and then evolving it every turn of the game as long as my opponent's still alive.
It's important to remember you need to defend the ground with really high toughness creatures like Croconura, and then you can attack with your evasive flying creatures like Drakewing Crassus.
I've definitely learned the hard way, though, that Simic might not always be able to stand up to the early onslaught, so you really got to think about that when you're drafting this guild.
By the end of the Pro Tour, draft lessons were being learned across all 5 Gatecrash guilds.
We saw Boros players consistently picking the critical 2-drop Wojak Halberdiers ahead of splashier mid and late game bombs.
Dimir was underdrafted at the Pro Tour, and if that's happening at your draft table, sneaking into the Dimir guild can really pay off.
2-drops, 2-drops, 2-drops. Gruul is all about having 2-drops. Some of the best drafters in the world were going as low as 15 lands in a very, very aggressive curve.
If any guild wants you to play with creatures, it's Simic, and their defining Evolve mechanic. Pro Tour Hall of Famer Zvi Moshowitz advocated upwards of 20 creatures when drafting Simic.
Orzhov has a mana-hungry mechanic in Extort, and really wants to keep casting costs low for large late-game life swings.
A great guide to the 5 Gatecrash guilds.
But we went deep undercover in the Orzhov Syndicate. We had Pro Tour Gatecrash top 8 competitor Ben Stark walk us through his 3-0 Orzhov draft. This is the guy that Channel Fireball turns to when they want to master a new draft format. Let's take a look.
Hi, welcome to the Tournament Center. I'm Zach Hill, and we're here with Pro Tour champion and limited expert Ben Stark. Ben, you're sitting at 9-1 right now. You got to be feeling pretty decent about this tournament.
Yeah, feeling pretty decent. Still a long way to go, but I'm certainly happy with how the first 10 rounds went.
Cool. So we're going to go through the first 5 picks of your first 3 packs of this draft and just get a look into how exactly you constructed your deck.
Sure.
So if we can go ahead and take a look at that first pack. Now, you open your pack, you see these cards right here. Did any of these cards stand out to you as stuff that you want to go into?
There's only a couple of cards I would even consider here, and I did consider. Grizzly Spectacle, I believe, is the best common in the set.
Okay.
Mugging, top 5 common in the set, and real nice. And
for sure.
And Arrows, which I believe is worse than Mugging and Grizzly Justice, but still a nice removal spell, and has the added advantage of being red or white.
Right.
So that you can play it in 4 of the 5 guilds. So I mean, that's a pretty big game.
For sure.
Or 3 of the 5 rather, not blue, green, or blue, black, but still.
Right, so you ended up going with the Spectacle, right?
Yeah.
Is this a case of just like the flexibility being less important than just the overall power level of the card, or do you prefer any of the specific guilds?
Well, really, I mean, Grizzly Spectacle is better than Mugging, I think. So I'm going to take Spectacle over Mugging, and it just comes down to Arrows and Spectacle then. And Arrows hasn't really impressed me. It's such a fast format. A lot of times when you're on the play, you need to be removing their blocker before they can attack. And these days, this has been true for many sets, a lot of the bombers are creatures, and you need to be able to remove them, and like Arrows doesn't remove a lot of cards, Biomancer and the draw card, a lot of these guys aren't attacking. So
yeah, for sure.
So really,
Guild Mages too.
So really any chance I get in this day and age to first pick something like a Grizzly Spectacle, like a murder-esque type card, I'm always pretty happy with it.
Awesome. All right, so let's take a look at the next pack now. So you first pick Grizzly Spectacle. You see in this pack, like, kind of a lot of, not blanks, but, Killing Glare, very similar to Grizzly Spectacle.
Right.
Is this a pretty straightforward pick
This is a pretty straightforward pick. I mean, if this was pack 1, it would be a tough pick, because, I don't consider Killing Glare nearly as good as Grizzly Spectacle, which costs a lot of mana to kill things, and this is a very fast format. obviously, having first picked the black removal and all these cards being
Right.
pretty close, I'm going to second pick Killing Glare here, no decision. But you could, if this was pack 1, for example, pick 1, you would definitely be considering the Swine, the Flux Mage, and the Killing Glare. All three of them are excellent cards. The Flux Mage is beautiful for Simic. It grows, it makes it impossible to block, and you want to keep attacking. Very powerful card. Zoroark's Swine also is a perfect Gruul card. In Gruul, I generally try and play low land counts so that I can then cast my 5-drops if I drew a few too many land, or just Blood Rush them if I don't.
Right, exactly.
So I like to play like 15, 16 lands,
Oh,
and,
cool.
and a card like Swine is just absolutely what I'm looking for.
That's really awesome to know, too, because I wouldn't have intuited in a deck with a bunch of 5-mana cards to play fewer
Because
lands,
it's
but it makes
a
sense.
3-mana card as much as it's a 5-mana card, and
Totally.
that's why it allows you to do that. So you basically never really get flooded or screwed. If you play a bunch of 1, 2, and 3-mana creatures, and then all your cards that cost say 4 or more have Blood Rush, you can get away with 15 to 16 lands, and you're never really flooded or screwed, and you're always on the offensive, which is what you want if you're Gruul.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what ended up happening, you did pick the Glare. You've got 2 black removal spells coming into this pack. You look here, you do see a lot of black. You've got Gateway Shade, Gutter Skull, which is not awesome, but you'll frequently play.
Right.
Guild Gate to fix your mana, and then, of course, the Guild Mage in the pack. Again, is there anything else you're looking at, or is this kind of exactly where
this
you
is a
want
pretty
to
easy
be?
pick too, because right now if there was another black card that was equal to the Guild Mage, I would be inclined to take it so that I could still play
Still
Dimir
play
or
Dimir if you
Orzhov,
needed to.
but there isn't. The black cards in this pack, I mean, sure, if I table the Gutter Skull or the Gateway Shade, it may make my main, but those really aren't good cards, you know?
Right.
Whereas the Black-White Guild Mage is a nice card, and Assault Griffin's a nice card, but if I play Assault Griffin, I'm going to be
You'll be
Black-White.
playing black anyway.
So the Guild Mage is a better card.
Totally. All right, so let's take a look at the 4th pick. You kind of a step down for me, I think.
Definitely.
Nothing really exciting in this pack to begin with, and you got Court Street Denizen. What did you think at this point?
Exactly what you said. Definitely a
yeah.
step down. I mean, at this point, if I'm going to be Orzhov, I'm hoping for some of the good Orzhov commons. You're talking about Smite, Kingpen's Pet, Basilica Screecher. You know, I'm not expecting a Grizzly Spectacle 5th, but you know that one. You know, Syndicate of Tides. You know,
got you.
Court Street Denizen. When you're on the draw, it's terrible. You're on the draw roughly half the time.
Right.
When you're on the play, it's okay, but it's still not even that impressive. So, I mean, you know, it's a fine playable, but I wasn't happy about 4th pick this.
All right, so not happy with this. Let's look at the 5th pack. Guild Gate again. I mean, it's kind of the only card in the pack right here. Not super interesting, but hey, it fixes your mana.
Even less happy about this one. I mean, Guild Gates are fine in some decks, but I'm not trying to play 3 colors. Black-White is pretty deep. I'm not expecting enough to splash. The mana is not that intensive in Black-White. You don't really have Black-Black 2-drops or White-White 2-drops or anything. I don't even really love Guild Gates. Like, I'll play 8-8-1.
Sometimes it blows you out. You need the mana.
If I have 2 or 3 Guild Gates and I'm not splashing or anything, I won't even play them all in Black-White. I'll usually just play 1, so I can play 8-8-1 and have 9 sources.
Cool. Anyway, at the end of these 4th pick packs, despite not being too happy, you're firmly submitted in Orzhov, so let's go a little bit more quickly through the pack.
I'm not that unhappy. I mean, to start with a Grizzly Spectacle into a Killing Glare is a nice draft, but picks 4 and 5 just kind of disappointed me. I was hoping for a little more, you know?
Cool. So we're back to the black cards. You're looking at a Cartel Aristocrat right now, firmly in Orzhov. Cryptghast, actually not a card that I played with a lot. It's what you picked out of this pack. Is it a bomb rare, or is it
I'm not going to call it a bomb rare, but it's an easy pick. It's a first pick quality card, you know? It's not a bomber in the sense like Windmill Slam it, don't look at the pack, you know? But it's, you know, on par with those good commons. Like, depending on your deck, it would be a close pick with, like, you know, a Smite or a Kingpin's Pet, you know, the best commons. So, I mean, it's definitely better than a Cartel Aristocrat, which is also a fine card.
Right.
But it's not, Cartel Aristocrat is not on par with those kind of cards, with direct removal or...
Cool. All right, so let's look at the next pack. I'm seeing a Daring Skyjack. A lot of people don't really like it in Orzhov. Really not a whole lot else. You don't want to be playing off-color horror.
It's great you say that, because I should actually elaborate on that a little bit.
Please do.
People have been drafting Orzhov completely wrong.
And why is that?
It's not a control deck. Like, so Extort lends itself to cheap cards so that you can extort them. It doesn't lend itself to 5 and 6 drops.
Right, because then you're not being able to pay the extort.
And your extort cards are not that great, 2-mana 2/2, 3-mana 2/2, but they are great cards if you're extorting all the time.
Right.
So, and it's hard to race somebody if they're gaining life and making you lose life.
Right.
Smite, same thing, nice cheap if you're racing, not the best with 5 and 6 drops. If I have a Smite in my hand and I'm going to play a 5 or a 6 drop, why do I need to
cast Smite?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't need to Smite anything. My 5 and 6 drops bigger anyway. Disfigure lends itself well to 5 and 6 drops. Smite lends itself well to little creatures, as does Extort. So the way you're supposed to draft Orzhov, it's not so much that you call it beatdown, you call it control, it's you want all the cheap cards.
Yeah.
I like a Daring Skyjack. I can play it on turn 3 or 4, get an Extort or 2 out of it, and then attack with it as a flyer, or I can play it on turn 2 if I'm on the draw or something and trade with any of Boros' 2-drops or Simic's 2-drops if I can. Or
and in
whatever.
an aggressive deck, you can get the last few points of damage with Extort as opposed to having to just kill them
so
with your Extort.
I'm not happy about second picking Daring Skyjack, because second pick you're always hoping for Grizzly Spectacle or a Bomb Rare or, you know, whatever. but I like Daring Skyjack and Orzhov. I have no problem with that.
So Orzhov, an aggressive deck. All right, let's get through some of the
Yeah.
rest of these picks. Let's take a look at this. Kingpin's Pet, I feel like it's one of the premier Orzhov cards.
Yeah.
Not really a lot of decision here. There's nothing else really in this pack.
No decision.
Right?
Premier Orzhov card outside of Grizzly Spectacle. It's second best common for Orzhov.
Awesome.
Yeah, just an easy pick. Everything you want. Nightville Spectre is a fantastic card, but the black
Just
casting
too
cost.
hard to cast.
I'll play it in my Orzhov decks with 9 sources, but I'm certainly not going to take it over Kingpin's Pet to play it with off 9 sources.
Makes sense.
You know?
All right, so we've got the Kingpin's Pet. What's next? All right, well, now you have got to be thrilled to get
Thrilled.
1,000 lashes this
yes.
late.
So second pick, Staring Skyjack, a little disappointed. Third pick, Kingpin's Pet, about on par, pretty
Yeah.
happy, you know.
Yeah.
Fourth pick, jumping for joy. 1,000 lashes could not be better. This is a
Yeah.
really aggro racing, grinding, life total kind of a format, and this is just beautiful. I mean, kill any creature, bomb rare, doesn't get to activate its abilities, big, small, doesn't
Yep.
matter, and then drain them for 5 as you're sitting there, extending the game with Extort and making it go
Totally.
longer. I mean,
It seems like exactly what you want.
yeah, I mean, this in this deck is practically a bomber. I mean, it's just a windmill slam first pick. You
Awesome.
love any 1,000 lashes you can get.
And you got it fourth. All right, fifth
super
pack
excited
and
about that.
fifth pick in pack 2, Syndic of Ties. I mean, it's like one of the best mono white commons. Sick in this
Yeah.
deck, even sicker if you're playing aggressive. Let's go to the third pack though and see sort of a full pack's worth of choices. Now, I've seen, like, if you're in an aggressive deck, a lot of people like a card like Righteous Charge. It's kind of tempting,
Yeah.
but it's sort of high variance. Guardian of the Gateless, I've heard people say, oh, it's 5 mana, I don't want to be playing it in this format.
Yeah.
Is it just so good that it doesn't matter?
No, Guardian of the Gateless is way overrated.
Oh, yeah?
It's a nice card. Sometimes it stops the beatdown, but doesn't attack
sure.
all that well. There's plenty of spot removal. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'll pretty much always play it, but I won't take it over very many of the good Orzhov cards. Like I said, I consider the 5 basic Orzhov commons: Syndic of Tithes, Basilisk Screecher, Smite, Grizzly Spectacle, and Kingpin's Pet.
For sure.
I would never
And
take Guardian of the
not
Gateless
take
over
that
any of the
over
5.
any of those.
Yeah, I cannot
All right.
imagine having a normal Orzhov deck and ever taking it.
Really? Okay, so let's round out this pack really quick.
I did
Pick
take.
two,
I did take
Yeah.
it there because there was that or the +2/+2 card, which I don't think is
just
very good.
not good enough. All right, Fireman Avenger, off color. You know, it's one of the best cards in the pack.
I'm not big on hate drafting. It's one of the best rares in the set. I would gladly have took Kingpin's Pet or Smite over it, but as you can see, I would have been taking a Dutiful throw all over
Yeah.
it. So I said, just in case I peel 2 Boros lands this pack or a Prism and a Boros land or something,
For
then
sure.
maybe I'll splash the Avenge.
But not actively looking to splash.
Not
it,
actively looking to splash, willing to splash it if I happen to pick up those cards, not over the good commons or anything
For
like
sure.
that. You know.
All right, pick 3. We're looking at, I mean, yet another Syndic of Tithes. Exactly what you want. Let's take a look at pick 4. Herbis Protector, sort of 6 mana. Do you think you're going to play this card?
Not in love with Herbis Protector. I did have a Port Denizen or 2, so I said, you know, maybe this guy will make my deck. I'm
Tap
like,
2 guys
Yeah,
with it.
but I'm not happy about it. I'm not looking to play it. Hate all the expensive spells in Orzhov.
Amen. Just rounding this out very quickly. Syndicate Enforcer, kind of average, not awesome.
Yeah.
And finally, what we have.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, looks like you put together a pretty awesome deck despite that. You're 2-0 in the pod right now.
I am
right?
2-0 in the pod. It is a good deck. It has a good curve. It's got removal. It's certainly nothing special. I hope to keep drawing well.
Awesome. Well, good luck today, Ben. This is Ben Stark, Pro Tour champion. I'm Zach Hill. This is the Tournament Center.
Time now on Friday Night Countdown for the results of the Fantasy Pro Tour. We begin with Planeswalker. It was Garruk, Primal Hunter.
Yeah, it's not hard to understand. We saw a player draw 5 cards with his Garruk Primal Hunter with that little help from a Thragtusk.
The small creature was Augur of Bolus.
This is a staple card in the control decks. It's really good early to block up the ground against fast aggressive creatures, and it helps fund your big game-winning instants and sorceries like Supreme Verdict and Sphinx's Revelation.
The medium creature could transform. It was Huntmaster of the Fells.
Yeah, we saw this card all over the place. Human Reanimator strategies were playing it, Jund decks were playing it, Naya aggro decks were playing it. Still a big part of the standard metagame.
Perhaps the slam dunk of the Fantasy Pro Tour was the large creature. Yep, it was Thragtusk.
Remember the part about Garruk drawing 5 cards? This card gains you 5 life, gives you another token. It's just a central card in so many different strategies.
The number 1 instant was Searing Spear.
Yeah, we saw this card in the Boros control deck that came in second in the Pro Tour. Just, you know, a very, very versatile card that, you know, can remove creatures and sometimes players.
Red again, the number 1 sorcery was Pillar of Flame.
Yeah, I don't want that Stranglegeist coming back. I'd like to remove it from the game. I want to quickly have access to something that could kill your champion of the parish. Pillar of the Flame is the right tool for the job.
Number 1 enchantment was Rest in Peace, while the number 1 artifact, well, that was Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, almost all of those cards were in sideboards. They're just, toolbox cards that people use for, very specific situations.
Non-basic land, well, that was Stomping Ground.
Yeah, who wasn't excited about Stomping Ground? It's got a great name, Stomping Ground. I think you can figure out what kind of decks are playing this card.
Which means you may be able to work out what the number 1 Gatecrash card was. That too was Stomping Ground. And in fact, Stomping Ground was the most played card by the top 100 players in the whole Pro Tour. Top player, of course, was Tom Martell. Now it's time on Friday Night Countdown for our milestone moments. It was a real weekend of firsts, and we begin with Melissa DeTora.
Yeah, Melissa DeTora became the first female player to top 8 a Pro Tour this weekend, building on the success she's had traveling the world playing in Grand Prix.
Talk to us about Owen Turtenwell.
Well, Owen Turtenwell won the Player of the Year title in 2011 while setting the record for the most Grand Prix top 8s in one season, but he still did not have that elusive first Pro Tour top 8, and he got that done this weekend in Montreal.
Another great story was Jerry Thompson.
Jerry Thompson was the most accomplished player walking into Pro Tour Gatecrash without a Pro Tour top 8. He left with that top 8 in his back pocket.
For a closer look at just what it means when players realize their dreams, have a listen to Eric Froelich, moments after the roar of the crowd heralded his round 16 victory. That win took him into the top 8 of Pro Tour Gatecrash.
The friends that I have here, it's the reason I play Magic. It's the reason I think all of us play Magic. We come out here, we see the world, we spend time with our friends. I work with the greatest group of guys. So many friends I've made from all sorts of countries, especially, the Americans that I've been working with for 10 plus years, and all my friends on Facebook and Twitter and people following the event. This is what makes it special. Hearing that roar, you can see that there's almost tears in my eyes. It's just so incredible.
A fantastic performance. Thank you very, very much, Eric Froelich. Congratulations.
It's the friendships we make along the way that help make Magic so special to us all.
Yeah, I'm really reminded of those friendships, especially in the wake of the death of Ataru Ishida, a legendary Japanese Magic player. His close friend and Pro Tour Hall of Famer Tsuyoshi Fujita remembered him and exhorted the Magic community to remember Ataru Ishida and said, play Magic with your friends.
On Friday Night Countdown, for Brian David-Marshall, I'm your host Richard Hagon, saying bye.